The month's operational activities produced landmark achievements of considerable strategic significance, including the neutralization of scores of terrorist and criminal elements, the rescue of hundreds of unlawfully abducted civilians, the systematic dismantling of illegal arms manufacturing and trafficking networks, the destruction of terrorist enclaves and logistic supply chains, the seizure of stolen petroleum products, and the arrest of collaborators, gunrunners, criminal financiers, and intelligence informants embedded within civilian communities. Let me now look at the various operational theaters, starting with Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai. Troops of Operation Hadinkai sustained offensive operations against Boko Haram and ISWAP remnants across Adamawa, Borno, Taraba, and Yobe states, recording a compelling succession of operational successes during the period. In all, 73 insurgents were neutralized, 159 were arrested, 112 persons were rescued, while 18 terrorists surrendered to troops. Significantly, on the 30th of April, a night ambush in Bama local government area resulted in the neutralization of 4 terrorists and the recovery of an AK-47 rifle, while troops in the same local government intercepted and rescued 6 children earlier abducted from Ngoshe community on the 3rd of March this year. They were reunited with their families after weeks in unlawful captivity. 3 terrorists also voluntarily surrendered to troops in Gedam local government area of Yobe State, reflecting the mounting psychological and operational pressure being mounted by the armed forces on the insurgents. On the 5th of this month, troops deployed in Damboa conducted a decisive 3-pronged offensive and cleared the communities of Dosu, Mote, Hawamburum, Abala, Kimba, and Sabungeri. The troops captured 1 terrorist and neutralized 2 others. On the same day, a gun runner was arrested in Donga local government area of Taraba State, and follow-up operations in Takum local government area netted 3 additional suspects and confirmed the existence of an active arms supply network serving terrorist formations in the region. The most decisive engagement of this phase occurred on the 7th of May, when troops at Magumeri repelled a coordinated ISWAP assault mounted under the cover of poor visibility. The attackers were met with overwhelming resistance, with scores of terrorists being neutralized. A PKT anti-aircraft gun and AK-47 rifles were also recovered. Troops were able to defeat the assault, however, at the cost of 2 gallant soldiers who paid the supreme price in the defense of the nation. Between the 8th and the 14th of May, Operation Hadinkai sustained its offensive tempo with a series of further impactful engagements and humanitarian rescues. On the 8th, troops on an ambush along the Banki-Kumshe Road in Bama intercepted a terrorist logistics convoy attempting to cross from Cameroon into Nigeria, forcing a withdrawal and the recovery of bicycles, fuel jerrycans, surgical drips, assorted medications, motorcycle parts, and other supplies intended for the insurgents. On the same date, troops at Gari in Gujba local government area of Yobe State repelled a large-scale multi-wave terrorist assault on their camp, neutralized 5 terrorists, including 1 foreign national, and recovered a general-purpose machine gun, AK-47 rifles, RPG tubes with accompanying bombs, and over 2,000 rounds of assorted ammunition, and while we lost about 3 gallant soldiers. On the 13th of May, following a joint air interdiction mission around the Mandara Mountains, 6 women and children, also earlier adopted from the Ngoshe community, were rescued and reunited with their families. A further 6 abductees from the same community were liberated on the 14th of May during clearance operations along the Gava corridor, representing a sustained and deliberate effort to recover all victims of the March 2026 terrorist raid. The period from 15th of May to the 25th May witnessed a marked acceleration in clearance operations and an unprecedented wave of voluntary terrorist surrenders, demonstrating the irrevocable erosion of insurgent morale under relentless military pressure. On the 15th of May, clearance operations through Valley, Ashigashia, and Gakara in Goza local government area neutralized 2 terrorists. A notorious logistics supplier, Umar Amadu, was subsequently tracked and arrested on the 18th at an IDP camp in Goza, where he confessed to consistently delivering supplies to insurgents at Hambagda community. On the 19th, troops rescued 2 female civilians and an infant who had been held captive since November last year and were subsequently handed over to international humanitarian representatives following comprehensive medical examination. Then on the 20th, a 20-year-old suspect, Baba Kakabuka, surrendered at FOB Merari with an AK-47 rifle. In a night ambush the next day on the 21st along the Ngoshe Amuda route, troops liberated 2 women and 2 children who had been held captive at the Barawa terrorist enclave since the March 2026 abduction. They were successfully reunited with their families through local community support. On the 22nd, surveillance networks utilizing CCTV cameras detected a large number of terrorists mounted on motorcycles and on foot advancing towards FOB Tungushe in Meduguri area. Troops promptly engaged their advancing adversaries, holding their ground before rapid reinforcements arrived to decisively contain the assault. During exploitation, troops successfully recovered 3 AK-47 magazines, 2 36 hand grenades, 1 LGF grenade, 5 PKT rounds, a mobile phone, and various supplies left behind by the fleeing terrorists. Pressure on the insurgents was further intensified through persistent tracking and clearance operations along key transit axes. Then, on the 23rd, troops deployed at Dutsinkura in Buratai, Bio local government area of Borno State, spotted a mass kidnapping of commuters in progress along the Buratai-Kamuya road. A quick reaction force was immediately mobilized, pursuing the terrorists towards the Mangari-Dora general area and forcing them to abandon 8 transit vehicles and all 92 captives, comprising 52 adult males and 33 adult females, as well as 7 children. Troops also detected and safely detonated 3 improvised explosive devices planted along the Bula-Zarma-Mangari road to ambush the reinforcement before successfully escorting the rescued victims to Damaturu to continue with their journey. Having looked at Operation Hadinkai, let us now look at Joint Task Force Northwest, Operation Fansanyama. Troops of Operation Fansanyama sustained engagements against armed terrorists across Kaduna, Katsina, Sokoto, and Zamfara states throughout the period. They severely degraded hostile networks through aggressive offensive action and precision intelligence operations. In all, 24 insurgents were neutralized, 13 were arrested, while 32 civilians were rescued. Significantly, on the 30th of April, fighting patrols across Kankara, Kankia, and Dutsima local government areas of Katsina State, neutralized a total of 6 terrorists and recovered AK-47 rifles, motorcycles, and quantities of cash. On the 2nd of this month in Zamfara State, a brazen attack on Forward Operation Base, Bagega in Anka local government area of Zamfara State was met with an overwhelming response, where reinforcements from multiple Forward Operation bases and a quick reaction force were swiftly mobilized alongside 2 Super Tucano aircraft and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms deployed from Kainji, enabling coordinated air and ground operations that neutralized 3 additional terrorists. However, we lost 1 soldier in that encounter. Between the 3rd to the 7th of May, sustained fighting patrols across Talata Mafara, Maradun, and Zurmi local government areas of Zamfara State further neutralized 5 terrorists and yielded the recovery of an SK-21A1 machine gun, a locally fabricated handgun, AK-47 rifles, and multiple rounds of ammunition. On the 8th, a snap checkpoint in Beningwari local government area of Kaduna State led to the arrest of a suspected terrorist found with incriminating photographs and weapons magazines. On the same day, a major offensive at Dikawa village in Matazu local government area of Katsina State neutralized 2 terrorists and produced one of the most significant humanitarian outcomes of the period, which is the rescue of 32 kidnapped victims comprising 9 men, 10 women, and 13 children, alongside 26 livestock from a fortified terrorist enclave. Airstrikes in Shinkafi local government area of Zamfara State were confirmed to have inflicted mass terrorist casualties. On the 14th of May, 2 terrorists were neutralized in Tangaza, local government area of Sokoto State, while attempting to sabotage Nigerian Immigration Service infrastructure near the Republic of Niger. Between the 15th and the 21st of the month, the unrelenting tempo of operations across the theater produced further decisive results. On the 15th, troops who reinforced local vigilantes following a terrorist attack on Kwaga village in Beningwari local government area of Kaduna State neutralized 3 terrorists, recovered a G3 rifle, and evacuated 2 injured community members to hospital, with route exploitation the following day yielding additional G3 magazines and NATO ammunition abandoned along the withdrawal path. In a landmark arrest, a major gun runner was apprehended at a hospital in Badsari local government area of Katsina State and unmasked as a primary supplier of military-grade weapons to notorious bandit kingpins, including Bello Turji. On the 22nd of May, troops swiftly responded to terrorist sightings within Yanluto village in the Safe local government area of Zamfara State. On arriving at the location, troops established immediate contact, engaged the criminals in a fierce shootout that resulted in the neutralization of 1 terrorist while others fled with severe gunshot wounds into the surrounding bushes. On the 24th, troops deployed at Turba in Isa local government area of Sokoto State came under attack from terrorists sighted crossing the river line while advancing. During the encounter, troops neutralized 2 terrorists and subsequently exploited up to the river line, but made no contact with the terrorists. Let us now look at Joint Task Force North Central Operation Savannah Shield. Troops of Operation Savannah Shield conducted a series of decisive rescues, clearance, and interdiction operations across multiple local government areas in Kwara and Niger states throughout the period, dismantling criminal support networks, and delivering tangible security dividends to communities long threatened by violent criminal elements. In all, 3 insurgents were neutralized, 12 were arrested, while 24 civilians were rescued. Significantly, on the 30th of April, troops responding to a terrorist ambush in Ifelodun, local government area of Kwara State, neutralized 2 terrorists and recovered 2 AK-47 rifles before continuing clearance operations through Chekogi village. On the same date, a fighting patrol in Edu local government area, mounted in response to a kidnapping distress call, successfully rescued 4 victims. 2 of them were promptly evacuated for medical attention. Then, on the 3rd of May, 7 suspected kidnappers were apprehended in Baruten local government area of Okuta and Boria, with 2 locally fabricated firearms recovered. On the 10th, troops at Kafinkoro in Paikoro local government area of Niger State repelled a determined terrorist assault, neutralized 1 terrorist, and recovered 246 rounds of 7.62mm NATO, 4 motorcycles, a Baofeng radio, and mobile phones. A follow-up assessment the following day confirmed 2 additional terrorist facilities and the recovery of a PKT machine gun and an AK-47 rifle. Sustained operations between the 10th and the 22nd produced a further succession of precision arrests and interdictions that collectively disabled clandestine operational nodes within the theater of Operation Savannah Shield. On the 16th, a rigorous cordon and search operation at Tungam Maje in Kayama local government area yielded the arrest of an insurgent informant whose mobile phone directly exposed active linkages to a notorious terrorist leader and intelligence tracking at patrol base Zambufu, which led to the arrest of 2 suspects involved in the covert transshipment of a PKT machine gun and an AK-47 rifle from the Indeji community to an undisclosed location, with the recovery of both weapons representing a critical denial of firepower to active terrorist elements. On the 21st of May, troops conducted a highly synchronized offensive operation and laid a successful ambush against suspected terrorist enclaves within Edu local government area of Kwara State. They were supported throughout the engagement by effective close air support. Ground troops overwhelmed the hostile elements, forced them to abandon their camp in disarray. A thorough sweep of the enclave resulted in the recovery of 8 Dane guns, 5 cartridges, 2 motorcycles, and assorted materials, thereby successfully denying the adversary a base for operations. In the Joint Task Force North Central Operation Enduring Peace, troops of Operation Enduring Peace demonstrated relentless operational drive across Plateau and parts of Bauchi, the Federal Capital Territory, Kaduna, and Nasarawa states during the period. They recorded major landmark results in the neutralization of kidnapping networks and the elimination of dangerous criminal infrastructure embedded within civilian communities. In all, 9 terrorists were neutralized, 36 terrorists were arrested, while 15 civilians were rescued. Following the arrest of 2 kidnappers in Kwampan local government area of Plateau State on the 29th of April, a targeted follow-up operation neutralized 4 additional gang members in their hideout. Then, on the 3rd of May, a suspect was apprehended along the Abaji-Kwali Road in Abuja. He was found to have concealed 250 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition within a vehicle's engine compartment. This arrest exposed the calculated mechanisms through which illegal arms are trafficked within the country. In Doma local government area of Nasarawa State, troops recovered an AK-47 rifle during a kidnap intervention. The most strategically significant operation of this phase was the dismantling of an illegal arms manufacturing complex in Form Jos South local government on the 7th of May, where a quick reaction force raid on 2 active production sites resulted in the arrest of 5 suspects in the act of producing illegal firearms with 9 fabricated AK-47 rifles, a locally fabricated pistol, 7 AK-47 skeletons, 4 recoiling springs, 4 revolver engines, and an array of industrial drilling, filing, and welding equipment were recovered. On the same day, 9 further suspects were apprehended in Doma local government area of Nasarawa State in connection with a separate kidnap attempt, while simultaneous operations netted 5 suspected kidnappers in Mada Station, Nasarawa Egon local government area of Nasarawa State, and led to the arrest of 6 suspects following an attack on Brazongo community in Basa local government area of Plateau State. Operations between the 9th and to the 21st of May systematically widened the security net across the theater, producing a cascade of arrests that collectively stripped criminal networks of personnel, weapons, and operational latitude. Between the 16th to the 21st, 5 criminal suspects were arrested in Mangu local government area of Plateau State after troops responded to gunfire, where 2 armed criminals chased by troops in Basa local government area of Plateau State abandoned a sack containing over 2 million naira in suspected ransom payments. On the 19th, a landmark joint raid on the Hutu community in Lugbe in the Federal Capital Territory resulted in the arrest of 61 criminal suspects and the recovery of firearms, motorcycles, generators, and communication equipment. All these arrests fundamentally disrupted an organized